Recording. All right.
Yeah.
So, just to start, I think a lot of people know you, Neil, behind the scenes of being my manager. But who is the real Neil Ta, and who is the real Bedong?
Ah, that's how much time do we got?
We got
Uh,
hella time. Don't worry.
the real Neil Ta. He's just like a blue collar, hardworking photographer out of Toronto.
Hmm.
So I do a lot of wedding work. I do commercial work as well.
Hmm.
Some gallery shows. You were at the show that I did in Amsterdam,
Hmm.
and you know all these little bits and pieces. You add them all up at the end of the year, and it provides a relatively good living. So that's
Okay.
pretty much what I do.
So let's take a step back. So tell us about when you're working your old crappy corporate job, and how you decide to quit that, travel around the world for a bit, and then decide on pursuing photography. Because I think you know there's probably so many people out there in similar situations. Working certain office jobs they hate, but really wanting to make photography their full time. Just share us a little bit of how you got started, I guess, in your photography and how you transitioned.
Sure. I worked corporate for a business to business company, and I worked in marketing and sales. I like really, really hated my job
how long
uh,
how long were you working there?
for about 6.5 years.
Hmm.
Uh, and I just decided, like, you know what, this isn't really good for my health. And I'm like, I planned for about a year to leave, and I ended up leaving my job and just was like, I need to detox and like go traveling for 6 months.
What do you mean it wasn't good for your job wasn't good for your health?
Just like the stress and anxiety of it was
Hmm.
like actually like manifesting itself physically, and like I had a bunch of health problems that
Oh
like
shit.
they couldn't really figure out what was going on, and it was basically just all stress related.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I just sort of like orchestrated my leave from this corporate job and decided to travel for about 6 months.
Hmm.
I got to do a lot of things that I guess was good for the soul. I was actually born in a refugee camp in Malaysia, and I got the chance to go back to the refugee camp, and it was just like a really fulfilling thing
Mm.
for me to do. And uh, I don't want to use the term closure, but like it provided some sort of sense of belonging, I guess. Once I was there, it just sort of like clicked in that this is where I'm from. Like I've essentially come from nothing,
Mm.
and my parents were very hardworking immigrants to Canada,
Mm.
much like your mom. And, we grew up fairly poor, and they worked their butts off to provide for the kids. So, uh, yeah, I like to sort of see where everything began and where our journey to Canada began. It's just a really touching moment for me in my life, and sort of uh, yeah, it's just really hard to explain, to be perfectly honest.
Well, it's interesting. So maybe you could also share the story. So my partner Cindy was also born, you know, in the same refugee camp, Palau Bedong, and when her family fled Saigon, she was pretty much born in that refugee camp as well. And we actually visited there last summer, and yeah, for us it was actually a very emotional experience as well because, kind of, imagine fleeing African country, undergoing like this war, and people dying along the way, and just the fact that your family, Cindy's family, were survivors, and kind of made a new life for yourselves overseas is incredible. And yeah, so speaking about that, yeah, I think the story of how we first met through Cindy is quite funny. Can you tell us the story?
Oh man. So when I started photography seriously maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, I started a daily photo blog back when people had daily photo blogs. Uh, and I named the blog I Am Bidong after the refugee camp. And so one day I get this email from a girl named Cindy, and she's like, hey, I was doing research on the island and I ended up on your blog. Like, by the way, really cool pictures. And so over the years, we sort of kept in touch. And when I went back to Palau Bidong to visit, she sort of picked my brain a little bit at that time, and we connected through Facebook. And one day she had posted this video on her stream, and it was an Eric Kim video of like a workshop that you did in Switzerland. And at the end of the video, it was like filmed and edited by Cindy Wing. And I'm like, holy crap, Cindy, like you're friends with Eric? That's really cool. Like, I'm a big fan of what he's doing. And so she's like, you're an idiot. Like, he's my boyfriend.
Oh, man.
So after that, she obviously made the introductions, and now we're BFFs.
Oh, yeah. And you're also very good at wiping my diaper, too.
Yes.
So, you've been shooting photography for the last 6-7 years, and so, so you went on this crazy trip overseas, and before you left for the trip, you essentially quit your job, right?
Yeah.
What did you tell your boss? I think this is a great story.
I think I basically told them the truth. Like, it was really stressing me out, and I just needed a change because it just wasn't worth it at the end of the day. Like, I would rather have nothing and not have that stress in my life. And I just sort of thought about it in terms of like, well, what's the worst that could happen? Versus like, if I stick with the status quo, I'm going to be miserable. But if I take this chance and if I leave on these travels, let's say I won't be able to find a job. Well, worst case scenario is I have to sell my condo and, live off that for a while. Like, that's not really that bad of an alternative, right? So at least I sort of had these options, and I budgeted pretty wisely to spend not that much money when I traveled, and then when I got back, I was actually planning.
How long were you traveling, and where'd you go?
I traveled for 5.5 months.
Damn.
So I went to Vietnam, Hong Kong, Cambodia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Australia, and I think that was it for that trip.
How did you choose those places to go to, and did you make your itinerary before you left, or was it kind of you played it by ear while you're overseas?
I sort of had an idea, but I didn't know when I was going at what time. So I kind of threw in Australia just sort of as like a bonus because a couple of my best friends live there. So I kind of found an affordable flight and was like, hey guys, like, what are you doing in the next couple of weeks? I'm going to pop by. So
they're like, don't you have a job?
No, they sort of knew I was on this journey. So, excuse me. Yeah. So everything worked out. I did also spend a lot of time in China as well. Yeah.
Was there any place in particular during your travels that you're like, wow, this place was like really amazing?
Well, getting that chance to go back to the refugee camp, I mean, that's really like life affirming or whatever you want to call it. Like it's just really hard for me to articulate like how much that really meant to me. And I actually wrote a blog post about my journey there, and I had friends like who have known me for like 20 years. Like after reading this blog post, they're just like I understand now why you are the way you are. And
Mm-hmm.
like for my really close friends to be able to say that after, seeing this journey that I went through, like just really meant a lot to me.
And then maybe we could also link to that post
But
later on
yeah,
so people
like
could get read that.
sure. Yeah, so that part was actually pretty awesome. As you know, like Vietnam is one of my favorite places in the
Yeah.
world. It's just
Why?
it's
Why?
such a cool place.
Why?
The food.
Oh, he's so good.
If you love carbs, you gotta go. You
Well,
gotta go to
well,
Vietnam.
believe it or not, like I'm like super low carb, and I still had a great time in Vietnam. I mean, I would eat mostly meat and veggies, and of course, I would have some pho here and there. But then, so where in Vietnam did you go? What cities?
Uh, Actually, like I've been to Vietnam so many times
Yeah.
that I don't even remember what cities I did on that trip
Okay.
because I've been back two or three times since then,
Okay.
and that was only like 4 years ago. So,
Because I think most people, I think probably Vietnam is probably one of the most underrated places to travel to, and also shoot photography. Um, I when I first went to Saigon there last summer with Cindy because she was doing research out there, I actually didn't really have much expectations at all. I'm like, oh, it's not like Tokyo or Korea or whatever, but it's probably like my new favorite place in the world, especially Saigon because just love the cafe culture, the food, low cost of living, and people are just generally very friendly. And I went up to Hanoi as well, and Hanoi was cool, but it didn't have the same sort of bustle and excitement as
mm.
Saigon. So, what would you say? Do you have a preference between those two cities?
uh, I think the really cool thing about Vietnam is when you travel from north to south,
I'm not sure
it
which way
feels like
plywood would you said you have a preference.
ooh.
Oh, I don't know why my phone just started talking. Okay, so go on.
Uh, when you're in Vietnam and you're traveling north to south or south to north,
Mm,
it feels like you're in different countries
mm,
because the people feel a little bit different. They speak a little bit differently. The mood and the atmosphere is a lot different. The South is just it's cool. It's modern. It's like it's their metropolis. It's got the coolness factor, but Hanoi has its own charms as well.
mm,
I mean, it's got like the French Quarter area, which is like really historic.
mm,
It's a much nicer city. Like it's surrounded by
mm,
lakes.
mm,
Uh, the climate there is a little bit more moderate during the winter,
mm,
and there's some really great places close to Hanoi.
mm.
Like you can go up into the mountains. You can head south into central Vietnam and stuff like that, and it it's just totally different. Like I
Mm.
love both of them, but if I could only go to one, I'd probably say Saigon because
Nice.
that's just where it's at.
Nice. So for people who might want to do a similar trip towards you, like I don't know if they'd want to go 6 months or a month or whatever, like how much would you say you budgeted like a month for your travels, roughly? Do you remember?
Uh, for 5.5 months, I was pretty much traveling on my own the whole time. So like obviously when I stay in guest houses and stuff like that, it's a little bit more expensive. Uh, and I wasn't on a strict budget.
Hmm.
I probably spent about 12 grand Canadian, so about 10 grand US in 5.5 months.
Wow, that's really, really good. I mean, way cheaper than buying like a new car. I mean, I'd rather travel the freaking world for like 6 months
Yeah,
and wasn't this like that's like a down payment on like a used on like a new car or something like that.
yeah, exactly.
And then, so before you came on trips, do you think there's like common mistakes or like tips you would give people who want to embark on a longer age trip through Asia? Like common mistakes or certain things which are rip-offs or anything like that, or just any hashtag pro tips you would give?
Uh, I personally think that like if you're in the U.S. or Canada or even Europe, and if you're going to spend the money to get there, I think that you should probably go for at least a couple of weeks.
Hmm.
And I think the common rookie mistake is I just want to go to Asia and I want to see as much as possible in like 2 weeks. So for me, I'd be like 2 weeks, like just go to Vietnam and like you probably could go from Saigon to Hanoi like by land in 2 weeks, but even that for me, I would be like, that's maybe not enough time. Uh, so like, I guess in general terms, just like less is more. Like, just spend more time in one place, learn about the culture, learn about the people, learn about its history, and that way it's like a lot more fulfilling. Like, traveling is not simply to cross off things on a bucket list, right? Like it's actually to immerse yourself in another culture and to learn. So definitely just fewer places, spend more time, and that's pretty much the best advice I can
Okay.
give.
So you went on this crazy trip, and then when you came back home, like, were you like a changed man? You're like, I can never go back into an office again or anything like that.
Not at all. I was actually applying to jobs when I got home, but through the process of applying to jobs, I'm just like, do I really want to work these jobs that don't really sound all that interesting to me? And after like a couple of months of applying, like people were booking me here and there for like, family events or like smaller weddings and like portrait shoots and corporate events and stuff like that. And after like a couple of months of this, I'm like, I didn't make a lot of money through photography, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I didn't even try, and I made like, let's say half of a livable income. So I'm like, but if I put effort into it, like maybe I could make a full livable income out of it. So yeah, that was essentially it. I just was like, you know what, I'll put a little bit more effort into it, and it's just luck, man.
Wait, so how did people first find you or reach out to you or book you?
I think a lot of it is just word of mouth. And the one thing I've always been good at is like maintaining contacts and like uh, networking and stuff like that. So uh, I think it's like the earlier gigs. It's like my first wedding clients, uh, Jen and Tony. How's it
Yeah,
going?
yeah.
Uh, like they had this really unrealistic faith in my abilities that I did not have in myself. And they're just like, yeah, like, you got this. It's totally fine.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you can take a landscape shot, so you can take wedding photos. Like,
Wait, so was
right?
it so was it like because you said you had your I Am Bidong daily photo blog. So was it people found you through your photo blog and they're like, oh, Neil shoots landscapes and urban photos, therefore he should be able to shoot a wedding. Was it like that?
That's pretty much how it is. Yeah. Uh, I guess I guess we know better now that it doesn't always translate.
Yeah,
Like I probably wouldn't want you shooting my wedding, no
yeah,
offense.
probably.
Uh, but yeah, that's basically how it starts, and then your name gets tossed around here and there, and you get better. I guess I'm trying to be a little bit modest here, but like I work my ass off, and I'm the type of guy who generally doesn't like his own work and is never happy with it. So like I could shoot like the most epic like wedding photo or whatever, but then I'll look at it and be like, yeah, but if I added like a hair light or like something, like it'd be like that much better.
If there
And
was
so
if there was like a unicorn doing a backflip in the background.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So like it's this constant like struggle of like, okay, I'm a professional and I'm supposed to be like, yeah, like my work is wicked and this is why you should believe in me. But at the same time, it's like, I know I can do so much better. And the more that I learn and absorb knowledge from other people, the better I'm going to get. Um, so it's a bit of a show, I guess, sometimes when you're trying to sell people on your work
Hmm.
versus like what you actually believe your work to be.
Hmm.
But maybe I'm just like a really tough critic.
Hmm. Well, okay, so this is also one thing is that like I'm also pretty self-critical, and I think it is good to be self-critical in the sense that you're a better editor and you push yourself forward and you work harder. But at the same time, it could be also like really unmotivating, and you just totally lose belief in yourself, and there's a lot of self-doubt. How do you balance, I guess, whether it's your photography, your commercial work, whatever, like balancing self doubt and also self criticism to use that in a positive way?
It's really tough. Like it's honestly something that I struggle with. I think that ego like plays
Hmm.
a role. Like I try to be as humble as possible, but like okay, so just to rewind, some of my earlier work was in roof-topping photography, which is essentially taking photos from on top of construction sites and
Hmm.
like the tops of condo buildings and office towers. And like I got like quite a bit of press from it and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And right now in Toronto, everybody's doing it. Like there's like literally hundreds of high school kids and stuff that are doing it, which is fine. But like, I'm just like, you know what? This isn't for me anymore. Some of these kids have like, well, I shouldn't call them kids, but some of these people have like, like 500,000 Instagram followers. And it's like, these are people that like my work may have partially influenced or directly influenced, and they have like 100 times the amount of followers. And it's like damn, like that sucks for me, I guess. But like at the same time, like uh it isn't something that I necessarily want to be associated with anymore.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's like, you know what, you've done something, it was good while it lasted, but let's just move on and like uh, get to other work.
Hmm.
You know, I think the bigger challenge, being someone who gets paid to do things, is more like the balance of doing things as art and doing it for money.
Hmm.
So there's that saying like sometimes I'm an artist, but sometimes I'm a whore.
I actually haven't heard that saying. Who says that?
I heard it in like a TED talk or something.
Hmm.
So it's I I actually met up with a friend today for lunch, and he was saying like, I really appreciate that you have this ability to sort of balance like your artistic side when you're shooting weddings,
Hmm.
but sometimes like like you just got to get shots that you're not thrilled about.
Hmm.
And I was trying to tell him like, look, if I go into a wedding and I envision like two or three photos that like I really really want to get
Hmm.
from an artistic point of view,
Hmm.
and if I'm able to execute on
Hmm.
those, it's like that's pretty fulfilling, right?
Hmm.
Like you understand that for the rest of the 98% of the wedding, you're kind of like documenting things in your own way,
Hmm.
but not necessarily like shooting purely for fun. But like those few shots that you do envision, I think makes things that much more rewarding.
Hmm. Wait, so take a step back. So you're talking about roof topping. So for people who are kind of unfamiliar with roof topping, can you maybe just talk a little bit more about that, and also personally how you got into it, and also you wrote that article like why I'm like done with roof-topping that was quite popular on Petapixel. So can you tell us the full arc of your love affair with roof-topping and why you decided to ditch it in the end?
Sure. There was a Toronto photographer, Jonathan Castellino, who's actually one of my best friends now. He had he was a very early adopter to roof-topping. His photos were published on Blog.to, which is like one of Toronto's biggest blog sites. And he had a whole series on Toronto rooftops. And like I saw these images that were like, selective color, HDR, like rooftop shots.
Wait,
Sorry,
no. So
Jono.
he did the selective color HDR rooftop shots. Oh man,
Some.
I'm totally gonna
But
bag on him next time I
oh
see him.
yeah, and like contrast up to 100 and like
Nice.
clarity up to 100.
Clarity.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
But at the time, like I was new, and I'm like, man, this is like the best stuff I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And so I guess I looked more into like that genre and saw other guys doing it, like Tom Ryboy, who is like he's pretty much like the man when it comes to roof-topping in North America. Guys like Eric Maurer. Uh, uh, yeah, like there's just like a ton of these people who were sort of like my mentors in roof-topping. I became their friends, and like we had some really good times doing it, and uh, you know unfortunately, like things change, right? Over time, I guess like security is like hip to what we're doing, and like it gets more and more difficult to access these sites.
Oops, looks like you just got cut out for a second. All right, so continue.
I don't know where I left off, but basically, there were a group of really awesome Toronto rooftop photographers. I became their friends. They mentored me, and we all got a bit of press with it, and we had a good time with it. And as I guess as we got more and more press and all this recognition, like it just changed things to the point where it's like, you know what, this isn't very fun anymore, but I feel like I'm one of the rooftop guys, so I got to continue shooting this. And it kind of got to the point where like I was just going out and shooting it, but like it wasn't really for myself. And when I came to the realization that I don't really care, like I'm just going to shoot for myself, and things will work themselves out. That's when I just decided to move on.
Well, I think that takes a lot of courage because, I've fallen into similar pitfalls myself. Like my early black and white street photography, very Henri Cartier-Bresson like, funny juxtapositions of people walking from billboards and just like kind of like really pretty photos. And when I started getting interested more in like kind of shooting like Gildan really close with a flash, a lot of people are like, dude, Eric, we already really like what you did before. We don't like your new stuff. Stop doing this new stuff and do your old stuff. So, but it's hard because you have an audience that expects a certain type of image from you, and you want to please them. And of course, me like everyone else, I have an ego, and it feels nice to be loved in that sense. But at the same time, knowing when to move on and grow out of it. And so, like, how do you balance like pleasing other people versus pleasing yourself? Because I don't really believe it when a photographer says, "Oh, I only shoot for myself," because otherwise, why would you share photos on the internet? So, like for you, how do you balance two of those things?
Well, it can be tough, but for me, when I take a really good picture for a client, so if I capture a really nice wedding photo and they love it and other people like it, like that gives me as much joy as like if I were to post a street photo or a rooftop photo or whatever that people like. Like at the end of the day, photography is photography and a photo is a photo. Like I'm a photographer, and whatever genre I'm shooting, like I'm trying to get the best photo possible, right? Um, so like that feeling doesn't really change in terms of like a, a good photo getting recognition. So there are some photos that I'm like, I wish more people would see. So, for example, the one peg leg photo that I took in Cambodia of like a kid with a silhouette popsicle and a guy with one leg in the background. That's like one of my favorite photos. And like, when I post a photo like that, I know that only like my photographer friends will get it. Like the average person who looks at my stream to look at like abandoned buildings and
Yeah.
rooftop photos, like they're not going to get a photo like that. So knowing the expectations really helps. Like I post a photo like that Cambodian photo and I'm like, it's really good. I love it, but I know that it's not going to get the recognition that I think it deserves. So it's kind of about like managing expectations in terms of like how popular you think it might get, which is kind of dumb, I guess, if you think about it.
Yeah, no, it sucks too because like there are certain photos that I really like, but I know that no one will ever like. Or sometimes this is my ego getting in the way where I'm like, man, these people are like so uneducated that like can't they see the inherent art of this photograph and
Yeah.
they're not cultured enough to understand. But I mean that is tough. And wait, so another question I want to segue into. So you're also quite famous for a lot of your urbex or urban exploration photos. So did that come before the rooftoping or after or about the same time?
About the same time, like essentially, they're both very similar.
Mm,
If you think about it, like it's about exploring the built environment,
mm,
right? So, and I guess exploring places that you're generally not supposed to be
mm,
or where people generally don't have access to. So,
mm,
whether it's an abandoned building or like a new condo,
mm,
the premise is the same,
mm.
right?
Well, yeah. So, and then, sorry to interrupt you. A lot of people, they first one of the questions they always ask, like, "Oh, how do you get permission or rights, or are you just breaking and entering? Like, what do you say to that?
Um,
Can't say anything.
no, like I think a good way of putting it is respectfully trespassing.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, I want to leave the place in the same condition that I entered. So that's why, like, we're not going to break down doors or like crowbar open doors and things like that to gain access. And if a place is locked up, then it's locked up. Like, you just come again in a few weeks to see if it's unlocked,
Oh, so
right? So
you wouldn't bring like a wire clipper to.
no.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's part of the fun, right? It's like, you know, scouting a location and being
Yeah.
like, ooh, like maybe I can fit in this window, or like just dumb stuff. Like it's kind of like a throwback to like when you were a kid,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
When like the world was your oyster and like you weren't really told what you could or couldn't do. For me, I remember being like 10 years old, maybe even younger, and like there were like these new cookie cutter houses being built near my
Oh
house.
yeah. Huh?
And like I used to like enter into the foundations and like just play around in them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like it's almost like that same spirit
Hmm.
of, exploring things for the sake of exploring it.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, like I remember when we went rooftoping once together, and we're climbing up like is the escape ladders and like walking over ledges that if I took a wrong step I would fall like 10,000 feet to my death. And man, like I almost shit my pants. Like I was thinking, I'm like, man, people think street photography is scary. This is like 100 times more terrifying. Um, and so with urban exploration or urbex or urban photography, what would you like to call it? Do you still shoot a lot of it?
Uh, Not as much. Yeah, not as much. And e- even places where like it's really popular to shoot, like Detroit. Um, like I think the challenge in shooting stuff like that is to make it your own and to make it different, right? It's like, what makes your photo of the crumbling Packard plant any different than the 5 billion other urbex photographers
Obviously
who've
it's
shot it?
the HDR and the selective color.
Yeah, clearly. Right,
Duh.
right. So yeah, like yeah, it's still something that I do, and I mean, when I was in Korea, in Seoul, I came out of rooftop retirement. I did a few rooftops there. But the thing with Seoul is like they use their rooftops, right? Like it's space. So like people are out there,
Smoking.
smoking or like just hanging out,
Yeah.
just getting fresh air. But like there's like these crazy developments in Seoul where it's like entire neighborhoods are abandoned.
Wow.
So they're essentially just being torn
Do you
down.
know what the name of these neighborhoods are?
I would have to ask.
Yeah, but you have photos on your Flickr or your
Yeah.
Instagram, right?
I don't even think I've posted many of them.
I think you posted a few. I think I've seen one or two on Instagram.
Maybe on Instagram. Yeah.
And tell us, okay, so then obviously, it took us a while to build up to this point, but obviously a lot of people who are listening to this are, probably really into street photography. So, yeah, tell us your love story with street photography and I guess how it fits in with your work. Because I think one thing I really admire about you as a photographer is that you're not just somebody who's hyper specialized. You're more of a generalist in the sense that you're a working commercial photographer. You shoot weddings, corporate events. You've done urban exploration, rooftoping, and also street photography. I think for me, I tend to be a little bit more of a specialist in the sense that I kind of only like to do street photography or urban landscapes and stuff like that. But yeah, tell us a little bit about how you got into street photography and how it influences your other work and how your other work influences your street photography.
Sure. Before I do that,
Yeah.
can we break? I have
Need
to
to take.
message.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a quick break. One. All right, so sorry. Last question was about street photography and its influence on you.
Yes. Okay, so because I am like a generalist, I mean, I have the ability to let all these genres like play off of each other. So, when I'm shooting a wedding, like there's a lot of like street photography components in it where you know, maybe I'll use there's like a commercial shoot that I did where they wanted like this sort of like slow shutter speed shot where people were walking through an intersection and they were like really blurry, and like I adapted that commercial shoot into a wedding, and like you know all of these genres sort of play off each other, and like at the end of the day, I mean, like I said, it is just photography, right? So like the fundamentals are the same. It's just light hitting a sensor and how you're able to manipulate it to get the best results. I can't hear you.
Oops, sorry, my microphone was on mute. So
Okay.
how would you for you define street photography, and what do you think makes a good quote unquote street photograph?
This is my friend Mel. She's sneaking
Oh,
in
it's
the
okay.
side.
Hey Mel, what's up? We're just doing an interview. It's all good. Do your thing.
Yeah.
So Neil, what is street photography for you, and what do you think makes a great street photograph?
Honestly, I don't even care what street photography is. Like, who cares what the genre is, right? Like, if you're on the street and you take a good photo, that's great. If you're at a friend's house taking a photo of their family, that's great. And there was a recent project that I shot in Melbourne where I basically followed my friends around for 2 weeks, and like I shot them in a way that sort of had like elements of like street photography, uh, like things in it, I guess, like sensibility, I guess, but it was like family photos in a very like uh unguarded and like unflattering way.
No, I mean I don't think they're unflattering, but they're certainly unguarded, and they weren't the typical, you know, posy family portraits. It's like I think I actually told you this. I think it's some of your best work because it's very intimate, it's very genuine, but also yeah, like it's if you could perfectly merge, I guess, the ethos of the candidness of street photography and the spontaneity of it with family photography. It's like family street photography almost.
Right. And like our friend Casper
Hmm.
Clausen
Hmm.
in Amsterdam like does a great job of that, right? Like a lot of his photos incorporate his little girl, and it doesn't make them any less good because they're not candid, or that it's his kid and not some stranger's kid.
Wait, so then maybe just making things more general, what do you think makes a great photograph?
You, you know it when you see it.
Are there
Uh,
certain elements of a photograph that you like in terms like I don't know like
well, well, so there's this ongoing joke with Eric and me and some of our other photographer friends where I basically don't like anything. Uh, so uh, I'm either the best person or the worst person to give critiques uh, because I generally dislike a lot of things. I'm very harsh on my critiques, which hopefully people can learn from. But at the same time, like if you want like you know uh, affirmation of how good your work is, like you probably don't want to ask for my opinion. I think you muted me again.
oh no no I'm
Oh,
on
okay.
mute.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Um,
Cool.
so transitioning. So one question I actually want to ask you about was, so you attended a Magnum workshop with Moises Simon, and can you tell us a little bit about why you decided to join it, and I guess ultimately what you learned from it?
Uh, it was awesome. Moises is like a really great teacher. Really, actually cares about the whole process of learning and teaching, and like he really made an effort to get to know us and get to know our work, and uh, was firm but fair in his critiques, and uh, I really wanted to like challenge myself. It was a 5 day long workshop, and we basically had to focus on one topic. And uh, my topic was sort of tracing how meat is brought from the farm to the table. And yeah, it taught me a lot about like what photojournalists have to go through in terms of like hustling and like talking to people and like getting connections and being referred to other people to get referrals to somewhere else to maybe get access to somewhere. So that was like a really interesting experience. I honestly don't know how like like my thing was like how is meat brought to the table, like so it was difficult you know gaining access to a farm or gaining access to like a slaughterhouse. Well, imagine what photojournalists have to do if it's like trying to access like a war zone. Like
Yeah,
i
yeah.
i couldn't even imagine.
And then so ultimately, what
um,
were your main takeaways
so
from this workshop?
uh, my main takeaways actually were more so in the editing process, uh, and how much that matters. So initially, my story was about 12 images. It told like a really boring, bland story. And after Moises was like, well, this is the way I see your project. and he cut it from 12 to 8 photos, and like it told a much different story, uh, a much stronger story in like a more concise way. And yeah, it's just weird because like, I mean, they're all my photos, right? But the way that you pick them and sequence them like can completely change your story.
Do you feel
So
that having someone else edit your own photos kind of makes you lose a little bit of your personal voice or your personal vision?
no, no, because like that's what photo editors do, right? Uh, there's that story with Steve McCurry and the Afghan girl. I think he preferred one of the other shots, and the editor of Nat Geo was like, "No, like this is the shot. It's not the other shot." So if Steve McCurry had his way, like that Afghan girl shot, which is one of the most epic photos ever, wouldn't have even seen the light of day. So
Nice.
yeah.
And one topic that I always love talking about, and we always geek out about it. So, you're a professional working photographer. You shoot with like a Canon 5D Mark III for your commercial work, but also, you've shot with a bunch of different, cameras, digital, film, and now you're actually shooting with a Hasselblad Xpan, where you're, doing a lot of cool work on that. So, I don't want this to be like a film versus digital argument, but I guess what are the advantages and disadvantages you've personally found for each medium, and why you ultimately, like let's chronicle your gear journey until how you ended up to the Xpan, because I know you've been through one or two cameras, right?
Uh, I'll try to be as brief as possible. So my work cameras, 5D Mark III and a A7R. I mean, they're crap. Like they're my work cameras and they're my workhorses. But like when I'm just walking around hanging out, like the last thing I want to do is use those cameras, right? And so actually, my friend Mel here, she perma lent me her X100S, which was very sweet of her.
Very sweet of her.
And I took that camera on a trip that I took earlier this year, and I was gone for like 2 months, and I basically shot like 95% of my work with the X100, which I love. Like I love the idea of like one camera, one lens, one focal length, and more importantly, like that camera, unlike any other digital camera that I've ever used, has like a soul. Like it has character to it. Like it's not the best camera, it's not the fastest, it's not it might be the prettiest, but like it's not the best of everything, but it does everything good enough. But it's also got these quirks about it where it's like that's kind of cool or that's kind of annoying. But it's like having like a kid, which I don't have, or like having a dog where it's like, well, I love all these things about it, but I dislike all these things about it. But at the end of the day, you're the best kid or the best dog that I've
you have
ever
a
had.
kid and it's like kind of ugly, but it's like like you're not good at everything, but I still love you.
Yeah, like, your kid's ugly, but maybe he's really smart or, like, anyways,
Oh yeah.
we're kind of getting off topic, but when I got back from that trip, I was just kind of like, well, let's try to do something with one camera and one lens that would actually be challenging. And I'm like, film. That'd be like awesome. And I started shooting my Xpan, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make a film panoramic camera my walk around camera. So when I go out and take photos, I don't even bring a digital camera anymore. It's just it's just my digital panoramic Xpan,
Your
and
digital panoramic Xpan.
sorry, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
my analog Xpan, and yeah, yeah, it's an interesting learning experience. Like right now, I basically need to take like 2 rolls a week in order to get 7 pretty good photos to
Mm,
post each day for the next week.
mm, mm,
Um, so I I really do like the challenge because it's like I can't go more than like a day or two without shooting
mm,
because I'm not going to have any content.
mm, mm,
And because I sort of force myself to do like this daily thing for the next year, I'm forcing myself not to only shoot every day, but to shoot film every day
mm,
and to stay on top of like developing and scanning as
mm.
well.
Wait, so I want to talk to you more about the Xpan, but taking a step back, how did you first get into film?
My buddy Jonathan Castellino, he lent me a film camera because I don't know that eventually people who start with digital will go back to film,
Mm, mhm.
and I've had sort of like a love hate relationship with it. I've owned a ton of film
So,
cameras. I've
so tell us,
shot.
tell us all the film cameras you've owned.
Uh, I had a Bessa R4A. It's
Hmm.
basically like a Leica ripoff.
Hmm.
But more functional.
Mm,
I've owned like a bunch of like cheaper rangefinders, Minolta Highmatic, point and shoots like the Contax T2, the Nikon 35 Ti. One of my favorite cameras is my Rolleiflex.
mm,
I unfortunately don't get to shoot that much
mm,
now since I'm shooting Xpan only,
mm,
but I love that camera. I have a 4x5 Linhof,
mm,
which I've maybe taken 10 photos with in my life. Uh, I have a lot, like pinhole cameras, Lego cameras, like you name it, I've owned it or currently do own it.
mm. So tell us your love-hate relationship with film.
Um, well, for a while I was shooting 35 mil and shooting like street with it, and then
Mm,
I'm like, you know what? Like this is dumb. Like I'm just going to shoot digital because it just doesn't make any sense because most of the photos are going to be crap anyways,
mm,
and I'm not working on a specific project. It's
mm,
just like walking around doing whatever but
mm,
spending a lot of money on it. Uh, and then I'm like, you know what? Get rid of all my 35 mil. I sold all my film. I sold all my 35 mil cameras. I'm like medium format only. I owned a Brana cassette with like all the lenses
mm.
and shooting Rolly for a while, and then I'm like, man, this is like it's so slow. Like
Yeah.
focusing with the Rolly, like the process is a lot slower. And then when Eric and I were at Gulf Photo Plus last year
Hmm. In Dubai.
uh, in Dubai, we attended a talk with Joe McNally,
Mm.
and he was showing us images shot with the Xpan and like portraits. So it was like, like a portrait of a person, but like super wide angle. So you
Mm,
got like a ton of context
mm.
in the frame. And I was like, holy shit, man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So I pretty much lusted for that camera for like maybe 8 months, and
Damn.
then ended up picking one up, and uh, unfortunately didn't really get to use it that much because I went on the trip and only took the X100. But now that I'm back and sort of dedicated to this 365 project, uh, yeah, it's just such a cool camera.
Mm.
Like I can't say enough good things about it.
So what's so cool about it?
Uh, it's it's obviously like the aspect ratio, like it's a 24 by 65 mil sensor. So what's really unique about it is, hang on, I have it somewhere. Mel, can you grab me this?
Can you grab me the Xpan?
Ooh.
Ooh. So give us a tour of the camera.
Shutter. Uh, basically, what makes this really unique is it's a 45 mil lens,
Yeah.
but the sensor is almost double wide,
Hmm.
right? So even though I'm shooting at 45, it's probably as wide as about a 24.
24 millimeter.
But you're getting the distortion or lack thereof distortion of
Ah,
a 45 mil lens.
interesting. So it's super wide angle without distortion.
Right. So, like, if I were to put you in the corner of the frame,
Yeah.
you're not going to be distorted.
Hmm.
So, if I were to grab my 5D, throw a 24 mil lens on it, put you on the edge of the frame, and then try to crop you, your head's going to be like, "Meh." Like it's just going to be super distorted.
Yeah.
So, uh, this is pretty much the one analog camera that really can't be replicated digitally.
That's
Uh,
true.
in theory, I mean, if you had a medium format digital and shot at 45 and then cropped it down, then yes, you would get like a similar feel to it, but it's kind of like cheating.
And then wait, so pointing the camera to the webcam, can you just maybe just turn it on and showing how the functions and the camera and how do you use it?
Uh,
Yeah, that's good.
Honestly, I basically put it on auto and I will use the exposure compensation depending on if it's like backlit or
Hmm.
uh, if I'm exposing for highlights or whatever, I'll sometimes knock it to -2 even.
Hmm.
Uh, what's really cool, like with all rangefinders, is the distance, hyperfocal distance.
Yeah.
So, at f at f16, I'm
Hmm.
basically shooting from like 6 feet to 35 feet
Hmm.
ish, and all of that is going to be in focus. So, uh, if need be, like I just set it to f16 and I just shoot it like a point and shoot.
Do you usually shoot at f16?
If it's during the day, yeah, because uh, I'm using Portra 400,
Hmm.
so pretty high speed film. So
How do you is it the lens interchangeable?
yeah, so it comes with the 45 as a standard. There's
Hmm.
also a 90 and the much coveted 30 mil lens.
Ooh.
The 30 mil will cost you like over 3 grand.
Oh my god.
It's really expensive.
That's insane.
Uh, Xpans are actually probably at an all-time high in terms of cost.
Why is that?
Uh,
Because you're shooting it, right?
well, because nobody wants to get rid of them when they have them because they're so awesome.
Wait,
Uh,
can you turn on the camera and then put the viewfinder to the webcam? No, the other way. So like pretend like I'm looking through it.
oh
Like if you can actually see the frame lines. I wonder if that'll work.
no, I don't think it'll work.
The other side, other side.
Uh, no, I don't. I don't really think it'll.
Yeah.
Nah,
Nah, it's all good. Yeah.
just Google it.
Yeah, just Google it. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it's cool. Like it's pretty much automated. It's got a light meter on it, and uh, it's basically just a really cool point and shoot. Oh, the one cool thing I do like about it is you can set the ISO.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So if I'm shooting Tri-X, I can just set it to 1600 and it'll meter for 1600. It doesn't always just default to the DX reading
Why do you like to shoot Tri-X at 1600?
because anyone seen Tri-X at 1600 knows how nice it is.
Do you when you push to 1600, do you slightly overexpose or underexpose or just shoot at 1600?
Just shoot it at 16, not too fussy.
And how much of shooting with the Xpan is you being like a douchebag hipster and like, look at me, I'm shooting panoramics. You only shoot 35 mil versus like, something else.
Uh, it's good for people like engaging you. It's not as good as like if I had the rollie. Like if I was in it for the attention, like I just throw the rollie on and like everyone would come talk to you. But with the Xpan, I find that the people that are coming up to me is like other photographers, and like it's actually kind of funny because there's been a few times where it's around my neck and I'm walking by and someone would just walk by and they would just like whisper like Xpan.
Oh god, that is so creepy. That's like
Yeah,
the best. That's like a best pickup line for photographers. Like, expand.
yeah, exactly. So
Oh man.
yeah, it's pretty funny, but it's definitely a nice camera if you want to engage other photographers and other film photographers especially. They are still pretty rare in terms of like trying to find trying to find them or trying to find people who shoot it, and especially trying to find people who shoot it regularly because with a roll of 36 exposures, I get like 20 shots out of it.
So when you're out shooting with the Xpan, I assume now you're like used to seeing the world in panoramic format instead.
Mhm.
Um, is that pretty fun?
It's different because the image is so flat and kind of stretched out. Like uh, it does take a while to sort of adjust like how you're composing images because you really want to like shoot things like really linearly, if that makes any sense. Um, so like sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to like layer shots where like you have like two or three layers of people in the image because it's so flat and linear. Like it's it's almost easier for me right now to sort of shoot kind of like simpler, cleaner images rather than to like put too many people into the frame or too many layers into the frame. But that's probably just because I've only really been shooting it for a couple of months and I'm still sort of learning.
Do you know any other famous photographers who have used Xpans in history that you got inspiration from?
Uh, I am the only one in history to ever shoot this camera. No, Kadelka has a book, I think. I don't have the book, but I think it's called Chaos, where I think a lot of it, if not all of it, is shot with an Xpan. And is it the actor Jeff Bridges? He shoots like panoramic, but it's with a wide lux, I think. So like when he's on movie sets and stuff, I think he shoots panoramic, but it's not with Xpan. But I would actually put this out to your readers as to some famous photographers who've shot projects with it. I'd be really interested to see their work.
Um, and so it's transitioning to famous photographers. Um, so who are some photographers you would say you have gained the most inspiration from, or like other photographers you recommend people checking out?
The main ones that everyone else has loved, Alex Webb, Elliot Erwitt, the classics. Vivian Meyer, like she gets a bad rap in the street photography community, but her work is so good. Um, but like non-famous people, like Jonathan Castellino is probably like one of the best, most consistent photographers in Toronto. Um, uh, our boy Brian Day in Detroit, he's doing amazing work there. Also in Detroit, Rob Monahan. His Flickr name is Detroit Liger. His stuff is so good, like it just like my head explodes. And like he could do probably a really awesome book on Detroit, which I would love to see in the near future. Dave Giordano, who's based in Chicago, but he's also got a Detroit-based project. He's got some pretty amazing stuff as well. Um, yeah, those are like some of the photographers. I guess I should like give shout out to like some of the Toronto
Oh
crew.
yeah, who would
Uh,
tell us your crew
Toronto
and
crews
possibly
like
their Flickr handles if you remember them off the top of your head.
Carl Edwards. I don't really know what his Flickr is, but he runs streetshooter.com. .com. Who else is here? Jared Krause, who's a really awesome street photographer, does really good things with color. Siri Thompson, who does like amazing work with like her dogs. It sounds dumb, but it's actually really amazing. Uh, yeah, those are some of the street photographers locally that I have a lot of respect for and look up to their work.
And another question. So, top photography books.
Uh, Bruce Davidson's Subway, Alex Webb, Suffering of Light. Like those are like the two books that if you don't have, you should buy them immediately.
Nice. And um, another question. So, if you could go back, so how old were you when you? So, how long have you been doing photography full time now?
4.5 years.
4.5 years. Okay. So, two-part question. So, first question: if you could go back to yourself when you started photography, what advice would you give yourself? And on top of that, if you could start, I guess um, your professional photography career again, well, what kind of advice would you give yourself?
Uh, well, I mean, we can't live our lives with regret, and honestly, like I'm way ahead of where I thought I would be when I first started. I mean, when I first started, I just wanted to make a very humble living out of it, and I've been able to do that. Um, but yeah, like just work hard and like don't have an ego and always critique your work because you know especially now where like Instagram is like the thing and people are posting one, two, three images a day, like it's hard to produce that much good work. And uh, yeah, just like be more critical of your work and always sort of strive for better, like never be complacent, because there's a lot of people even in the wedding photography industry who they're doing the same stuff that they were doing 8 years ago, and it's like uh, it's just lazy. I don't know. I don't know how they live with themselves.
Nice. And so we're gonna wrap this up, but a few more questions. So, this is one question I get from my friend Charlie Kirk, our buddy. He says, or he's given me the question before. What is one question nobody's ever asked you that you either wish someone asked you?
Hmm.
Or one question someone's never asked you that you think might be interesting to people.
Hmm. Uh, I I really don't know. Maybe like as I get older, like not that I'm even at the level, but like maybe some talk about like leaving behind a legacy or like a body of work that will outlive me. Uh, yeah. So for some of my work, uh, I love for it to sort of live on in some capacity, and like I've thought about I've thought about it a little bit, and like maybe donating my archives when I'm older, or giving it to like the City of Toronto archives, or to some place where they would actually be able to do something with them, because like sitting on hard drives or whatever, like it's not really doing much.
Oh, and to interrupt you, so one huge thing we didn't talk about is your Alexandra Park series, which I think maybe be the legacy you might leave to Toronto. Can you tell us a little bit about your Alexandra Park series?
Sure. There's a neighborhood in Toronto called Alexandra Park. It's pretty close to our Chinatown, and a lot of people that live there are like new immigrants to the city. People that have like health issues, so like might be on permanent disability, things like that. So they tend to be like, I guess, lower income as a result. And that neighborhood is basically being transformed over the next decade. So they're essentially kicking people out of their homes, displacing them, and then building like luxury condos. Uh, so over maybe the next 10 years, it's going to transition sort of from uh, these like really ugly, boring, communist looking like structures into a place where, yuppies like me can move into and like raise families. But I don't really know where the project is going because I'm about 3 years into it, and I have like probably like 20 photos that I think are quite good, but the story isn't there yet. Like I think I need to catch a break in terms of like where I want the story to go. Uh, but I do definitely have like some really strong individual images that uh, will eventually be uh, a big part of this book that I hope to publish uh, in 10 to 12 years.
Nice. So, last question. Yeah, just any last shout outs, tips, words of advice, or things you would like to mention?
uh, Not really. I just think like if you want to pursue photography as a business, like treat it as a business, uh, uh, and work really hard. I mean, that's I think the one thing that has stuck with me. Like that's what my parents have always done. Like worked really hard and like you know always improve. And you're never as good or as bad as what people think. But mostly you're never as good because like most people like think you're awesome if you can like take a photo that's in focus. So just be humble about things and like learn, read books, attend workshops, talk to your buddies who might know something about lighting or studio work or commercial work or drones or time lapse or street photography. Like, yeah, just be open and have fun.
All right, so cool. This is very informative. Thank you so much, Neil. So, where can people check you out on the interwebs?
They can find my website at www.neilta.ca. I'm also on Instagram at I am Bidong. And you can also check out my Tumblr blog, which is all Xpan stuff, and that's the xpanblog.tumblr.com. It's kind of new, so I'm sure we'll be linking it at some point.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Neil. And yeah, I'll include all these links for people to check out. And yeah, we should do this more often.
Cool.
All right,
Thanks, guys.
all right, peace out.
Peace.